Welcome to the Gen Cares Powered by Chosen Live podcast, a podcast that brings the community to you. Each week, we feature a guest that will help us stay in the know. We are here every Monday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, comment, and share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, here's your host, Jen Cares.
Well, good evening and welcome to Gen Cares, powered by Chosen Counselors, where we bring the community to you. I am your host, Jen Cares, the founder of Chosen Counselors, a nonprofit organization that seeks to inspire, motivate, empower, and strengthen individuals and families. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in, for liking, for sharing, for commenting, and supporting the cause that we got going on over here, okay? I'm so grateful still for last week's session. You're still packing. I love Lady Bernadette Mills. She is just a gem. And as you were able to see if you tuned in, she just exudes love and joy and all that fun jazz. I hope that you caught it. If not, go watch that one. That one was a good one for our ladies and gents, okay? She's a gem. And I'm just so grateful that she was a guest. This month is Women's History Month. Today's highlight, Billie Holiday, known as musician. Billie Holiday, born Eleanor Fagan, was one of the greatest jazz singers of the 20th century. Holiday started working with Artie Shaw and his orchestra in 1938, becoming one of the first female African-American vocalists to work with a white orchestra. Her singing reflected her tumultuous life, which was marred by bouts of substance abuse. Her autobiography was made into the 1972 film Lady Sings the Blues, starring Diana Ross. So tonight we honor Billie Holiday. All right, friends, so let's get into tonight's episode. Friends, it is time to march forth. Whatever it is you say that you wanted to do, what is stopping you? Now, I know we have many ideas and many thoughts and many goals that we want to work towards, but guess what, friends? We can do it. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do. I believe in you. And tonight, we're going to take a look in the mirror because guess what? That change first starts with us. People are always going to hate. Some going to celebrate, some going to hate. It's going to happen, right? But the choice is ours. What you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to believe that you could do it because that idea came to you? I'm excited. I got to slow down. I want y'all to hear this. I want us to get this because there's some things that's holding us back. And tonight we're going to look in the mirror to find out what's stopping us from doing that thing that we want to do. We got to think about that. Hey, Belinda, so good to see you on tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. So tonight, segment is Look in the Mirror, and our guest is Dr. Tashina Reeder. I met her sometime last year and she printed for our Day of Hope conference. She hosted Transparent Talk, and it is so fitting for this month again, because in order to march forth, we have got to be real first with ourselves. So help me welcome and introduce Dr. Reeder.
Woo! Thank you for the intro.
How are you doing tonight?
I am good. I am finally settling down, if you will. So I was looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Yes. I guess I'm settling down. I'm really excited. I feel like I don't drink coffee, but I feel like I got something that's exciting about me because I'm just excited about this conversation we're going to get into. Because, I have to come to grips sometimes with how I'm stopping my own self sometimes and how I'm letting other people stop me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And how I don't know what's happening. She just ain't doing it. Like, what's going on? So tonight we're going to talk about that. As always, here at Chosen Counselors, Jen Cares, we start with a quote of the day. And today's quote of the day is, "You have to look beyond the mirror to see yourself." You have to look beyond the mirror to see yourself. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a powerful quote because oftentimes when you hear that figurative statement of looking in the mirror, we really look at ourselves on a surface level. And we never really look at ourselves, like look beyond what you really see because it's scary. Then you opening up the door for vulnerability. And so truly looking at yourself is really simply reflection,
Mm.
self-reflection, right?
And you hit it on the nose when you said, like, we look in the mirror and we just trying to see, do I got any sleep in my eye?
Mhm, mhm,
Any crusties in there? Did I get them all out when I wash my face? Any
mhm,
drool in my mouth? Do I got to clean that off? We might see a pimple and things of that sort, but the root of how we got there, that's a different story. You got to go a little deeper for that.
mhm,
But we got to
mhm,
look beyond the mirror. So we can't look at the forefront. We got to go a little deeper, is what we saying.
mhm, mhm.
Mm,
It's really introspection. Like, I think that's where it begins. Life happens, and we're so busy moving and going, and some of us shucking and jiving, and whatever we're doing, we're not really slowing down enough to really check in with ourselves to say, "Self, how are you doing, really?"
mm,
That's really look at our own behaviors and patterns, but that requires introspection, some
mm.
really honest self-reflection.
We're gonna talk about honest because I feel like you just cussed when you said that. Because we like to fake it to make it. We like to keep up with the Joneses. We want to put some amazing things on Facebook, but sometimes everything ain't for the book or for the face and all that
Mhm,
jazz. But it's that part that you said of taking that pause. Because sometimes we get in the groove of things and we're just making it,
mhm,
surviving. And some of the stuff that we're doing could be going a different way where it's not so hard. Or sometimes it is easy, but sometimes I find that we go into survival mode and sometimes it's like, wait, I could have worked this out and it would have been just fine and I could relax a little bit. But it's taking that pause to really reevaluate and see what is going on, like planning
mhm,
out the future, seeing what could be different. Do this really need to even be on my plate?
mhm.
Hmm.
That's a good question, or I guess a good kind of thought, because I think many of us, we're living in a world right now where, people are still working from home. They're juggling still homeschooling for some parents and maintaining their side business or a side hustle, and they still have to get into the routine of things, and it can become overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially if you are doing multiple things. You have multiple children, or maybe you're single and you have a business and you have another job. It becomes a lot to juggle, right?
Right.
And we're always talking about life work balance, but I think, to your point, I think oftentimes just having that pause and
Mm-hmm.
kind of thinking about everything that we're doing, how is it really serving us?
Mm.
Because some things do serve us and some things don't.
Right.
And then the things that are not serving us, then why are we doing that? Is it out
Mm.
of routine? Because of a
Mm.
habit? Are we people pleasing?
Mm.
Are we loyal to that thing?
Wow.
And so we have to sit with that. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it can be uncomfortable.
Mm.
But I've learned, listen, I'm telling you what I know because I had to do it, and I think we all should be self-reflecting.
Yes.
Sometimes the moments is hard to really sit in them feelings
Mm-hmm.
because you have to really unpack some of that stuff, and sometimes that stuff is not cute. You're like,
Mm.
"Oh, I'm gonna try to avoid that or
Mm.
avoid those emotions because we don't wanna feel pain, we wanna feel pleasure." So let's not look at that right now. Let's keep doing, what we do.
Mm. So let's sit there for a second because this causes us to be that H word that you put out there,
Uh-huh.
honest with ourselves, right? Because when we look in the mirror first glance, we see whatever. But if we really look deep, you see a little bit more, as the quote said. Um, y- but it's hard sometimes, because we could do a good job, as ladies could do a good job of beating our faces where you can't see no blemishes and things of that sort. And it's like you're doing good. You put on
Mhm.
that good outfit where you can't see. They put on them spanks to swoop you all in like it ain't nothing going on underneath there. And you're trying to hold it all up together. But that part of being honest, and our guys do it too, because I know some guys that wear spanks and things of that sort. No judgment. You do what
Mhm.
works for you. Um, but it's different things that they'll do too to like make them, feel like they're there. But why is it so hard for us to be honest with what's going on? Like we could take that pause, but if we're not honest, we'll get back in that whirlwind.
You know what I've learned? That oftentimes it can be twofold, right? It can be one, if we're honest with ourselves, that means we are now accountable to change. And some of us aren't ready for change because we don't know that may require us having to let some people go,
Wait a
some
minute. Wait a
places
minute.
go.
Wait a minute. We just said be honest. Now you want to be accountable to. You're asking for a lot, sis.
That's why probably most likely we avoid, right? And we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be honest because the truth of the matter is we know what the real deal is. We know deep
Mm-hmm.
down inside what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes things we become attached to. And we know when things are bothering us that's not sitting right with our spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And then we know when things are in alignment because it feels good, it's easy, it doesn't require a lot of work or effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's those things that we know aren't good for us that we're fighting to hold on to, and it's causing problems. But because we're so attached and loyal to this thing,
Mm-hmm.
we have to really sit with ourselves and say, why am I still in this relationship? Why am I
Mm-hmm.
still at this job?
Mm-hmm.
Why 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 don't I believe that I can do this thing? What conversations am I having with myself? Meaning, are these conversations of defeat? Are these conversations of, you know, inspiration? Are these conversations that are cynical? Like we have a lot of different conversations in our head that compete for
Mm-hmm.
attention.
Yes.
And so I think part of being honest is that there comes a level of accountability.
Mm.
And accountability will require you to let some stuff go in order to grow forward, and that's not always easy.
It's not always easy. And the good part is that, well, you might not consider it good friends. I don't always consider it good because the piece of being accountable, if you find somebody to be accountable to, you have to be honest with them, right? Because we want them to hold us to our word of what it is that we say we was going to do.
Mhm,
So we got to be honest. So we can't, we can tell stories, but for so long, but after a while, they learned us. They're like, wait, Jennifer, didn't you say
mhm,
it don't look like, or they ask us, how you been doing with that?
mhm,
And you'd be like, would you like some water? One distract them and things of that sort, but they'll bring you back to whatever it is. And sometimes in this thing of even marching forth and whatever it is, the goal that we want to do, we need somebody to help us stay on track. Because we could say we
mhm,
want to do it all day. But if we
mhm,
don't have nobody to hold us accountable, somebody to help us be honest with ourselves of what it is that we said we wanted to do in the first place,
mhm.
what's going on?
And I say that as you were talking, I was kind of thinking to myself about accountability. I think, we all have different levels of readiness. Like we can have a onslaught of things that we want to change.
Mm-hmm.
But in those things, we have different levels of readiness of us wanting to change them,
Yes.
right? And so I think those things that we are at a place where, you know what, I'm ready to make the change, then we'll put forth the effort to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But other things may be a little bit more difficult. That doesn't mean that you can't change them, but maybe at this time in your life, you're not ready. So there's still lessons that you're learning in the midst of that season, you should call, or that place that you find yourself in. Even though you know this is not the right thing to do, but you're taking baby steps towards
Yeah.
change, which is, I think, should be highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
Change doesn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the things that we're dealing with didn't happen overnight to get there. May have been years of practice and years of
Yeah.
time spent
Yeah.
that we've been. And so now we have this attachment. So I think with it being accountable to not only ourselves but to other people really plays into your level of readiness to say, you know what, I'm going to step outside this comfort zone of mine. I'm going to step outside this box and I'm going to make this happen. Right. And knowing that when I do this, there's going to be some discomfort because we're so used to doing things that way,
Mm.
especially when it comes to wanting to do a thing like opening a business or wanting to do something we desire to do.
Mm-hmm.
Stepping outside that box can be scary because it's unpredictable. We don't know what to expect. We can't control the outcomes.
We can't.
So it's like, wait a minute. We peek around the corner a little bit, and that's okay. You can peek.
Yes.
Put your big toe out, put your big toe back in, and shake it all about. But you got to make some steps, to get
Yeah.
to the place to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to set goals, do little baby steps to get to the place where I'm able to step out and do that thing. I
Mm-hmm.
say do it afraid. But
Yes.
long as you have somebody who you can talk to, who can
Mm-hmm.
be your support system,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
make those changes, whether it's about yourself within or actually trying to achieve something that's tangible.
Mm. Whew. It's hard sometimes, friends, but guess what? We can do it. And we are here tonight to tell you. Tell us. Tell me. Jennifer, I can do it. Tell yourself
Well,
you
yeah,
can
be
do
sure
it.
you find some friends that they can hold you accountable, that uh, can be, also held accountable too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want just anybody holding us accountable, so
Mm-hmm.
we wanna be
Absolutely,
mindful.
absolutely.
Mhm,
And it's interesting because there's some things like I can recall in my mind of some things that I may be trying to work on, and I really don't want to tell anybody because I don't want to be accountable to them, but I also want to be accountable to myself. So it's like, Jennifer, you said you was going to do this. What's going on?
mhm, mhm.
You know?
And you know what? I've done that too. I'm like, "Girl, you said you was gonna do X, Y, and Z, and that was last year. What's really going
Yes.
on?"
Yes.
And, we hear this word, imposter syndrome.
Mm,
Ooh, right? I
yes.
think many of us may have experienced that where on some level, we don't believe in our own we don't believe that what we've achieved was due to our own efforts and skill sets,
Mm,
or we don't believe that we don't understand how people can see us as being so smart, but we don't see that in ourselves, and so we feel like a
mm,
fraud, and sometimes that gets in the way of us really
yes.
making things happen for ourselves
Yes.
because deep down inside, we don't think that we are capable, which is an insecurity. It kind of
Yes.
comes from a form of insecurity. Doesn't mean you can't work through that to
Right.
change that mindset, which is why I said, earlier, I always tell the ladies I work with, we have to sit with ourselves and ask ourselves, what conversations are we having with ourselves the most?
Mm-hmm.
If you're always having conversations that are defeating, meaning you're talking yourself out of the blessing before it happened,
Mm-hmm.
that's problematic. If that's the only or the loudest conversation you're having with yourself, you're gonna listen to that conversation first.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And so we have to shift those narratives about what we're thinking about ourselves and our abilities.
Yes, and learning how to, because as I shared earlier, like, it's always gonna be a hater, it's always gonna be somebody that will congratulate you, and sometimes it can come from the most randomest people that you don't expect it to come from. I shared a story before. I think, I don't know. Nevertheless, when I moved back to Philadelphia some years ago, I think I've been back 12 years. I'm only 21, friends. I'm teasing. But about 12 years ago, I moved back to Philly, and then I moved into an apartment. And the landlord, ironically, we was talking. He was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "This young girl trying to move in. What you doing with your life? Are you gonna pay rent?" Type of situation. That interview questions. And I said, I want to go to school to be a therapist. And
Mhm.
he was like, "Who's gonna listen to you?"
Hmm.
What? At first, it kind of hit me a little bit, but I stood on what it was that I wanted to go to school for. I understand, friends, that sometimes people say something and it knocks you, and it's like, am I going to still stand on what it is that I believe to do? I believed in my heart that I wanted to do that. So no matter what he said, it did not stop me. And we have to get that empowerment within ourselves to know, no, I'm going to do this. I'm a crawl, sweat, cry, bleed, everything to get there. But it is hard sometimes because when you're not expecting somebody to say that to be negative, you're hoping that them to be positive. He don't know me from a can of paint. This was like our first meeting. And that's a piece too. Sometimes people don't even know you when they say these things. Sometimes they do know you when they say these things because they're a little jealous. But whatever the reason is, get those people around you that are encouragement to you. If you're not there to be like, no, standing flat footed. I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. So that's important too. Like what you say out your mouth and what other people are saying to you. And if you're not strong enough, get somebody. You know,
Mhm.
just get somebody.
You said a whole mouthful, Jen. So I had a couple of thoughts. So I think in terms of public opinion,
Mm-hmm.
people gonna talk. They're gonna talk anyway, whether you do good or bad. Um, and that was one of my strongholds. Like I struggled with the public opinion. I was always concerned about what people think or would say. I, that imposter syndrome would pop up. Girl, they gonna think you
Mm-hmm.
this. You I had to silence those voices in my head. Like, what are you thinking? Why do you think? So when I think about people's comments,
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to get into a place. You have to enter into a place within yourself where you're owning your dopeness. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what people are saying about you, what you're not doing is not going to move you. I think too, when people give their opinions or comments, sometimes we have to be mindful. Whereas who's giving the the comment, who and if I don't know this person, then kind of assess the kind of purpose of it. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's something that's offensive, you have a choice. You can either move on and not even focus on it, or maybe address it if it was offensive to you. Like, hey, have you? But I think at the end of the day, we have to get past the place where everybody has an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to have a perspective.
Yeah.
I think it's important to still stand in your truth and stand on the facts,
Mm-hmm.
right, of what you're doing because you're owning your dopeness.
Mm-hmm.
People are not going to always understand what you're doing or what you're trying to do because God didn't give them the vision for
Mm-hmm.
them to do it,
Right there.
right? And so we have to be mindful of that. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, you can't, because you will find yourself doing mental gymnastics,
Mhm.
worrying about what you didn't do right because they said this. Listen, that's
Mm.
a lot of energy we give
Whew.
people, to rent space in our heads, as you've heard that saying
Yes.
before. And so I think many of us, we struggle with public opinion because we all want to be liked. We want validation, and when we hear criticism or hear things that's um unfavorable of what we're trying to do, sometimes it does move us a little bit. Like,
Yes. Yes.
ooh.
Yes.
But again, when we own who you are, you know who you are and know who you're not, and you know what your vision is and what you've been called to do or what you desire to do,
Yes.
you keep that focus.
Yes. And I want to also encourage us that sometimes we do things and it's for ourselves, but people think it's because of somebody else, a person, place, a thing. Prime example on Sunday, one of the ladies came, she was like, "What's his name?"
Hmm?
What? One, I dress very nice all the time. My opinion. I don't need you to confirm. I know. Thank you. But when she said, I'm like, why? One, why did it have to be for somebody else? Why? Why wasn't it just for me? And sometimes when you're doing something like, oh, you're doing too much, or you're doing it for somebody else. One, it should already be a habit of whatever it is that you're doing, so that if somebody does come along, that it's a norm that you're still doing it, not you just learned how to do it. Okay,
Mhm.
but that's the challenge too that you have sometimes. And like I was confident in the moment of, huh? Excuse me. It's Jennifer. Jennifer did this for Jennifer. Jennifer pulls his head together. Jennifer did that.
It's funny you say that because, just thinking in the same vein of the previous question, I think oftentimes people expose who they really are through their comments.
Mm.
And so just that comment alone, I'm like, well, where's your head at, sis? Like,
Yeah.
why are you worried about what I'm wearing, how I'm showing up? As long as I'm feeling good about me, why is that even a concern of yours of
Yeah.
who it's for? So perhaps she was kind of exposing her own mindset. I think sometimes people, I wrote about this, that some people sometimes we just dislike people for no reason.
Mm.
And it's not that we dislike them, but their shine and the
Yes.
glow they
Yes.
exude intimidates you, which
Yes.
exposes your insecurities. And so it ain't about you, sis. That's your stuff. So please don't dump. That's what I said.
Don't
Please.
don't. I love it. Don't. But I
Don't.
also it's something in my I feel like I eyelash something. But that's the important part too. That sometimes people say stuff and they're saying from their place, you
Mhm,
know.
mhm.
And then how you respond is so many different ways you can respond. One, but when you respond with dignity and class of who you are, they're like, oh well, that's not a problem for them. Nope, it's not a problem for me. But acknowledging too, like, how can I support you? You want me to pray with you for you, boo? We can do that too. So trying to also empower that person so that they don't say it to somebody else. Because
Mhm.
like they can say it to you and you can brush it off your back, but they say it to somebody else, it goes a little different. And sometimes they can say it to you and they don't brush off your back. You find your accountability person to help you pray. My pastor talked about it on Sunday. If you got a grudge, don't go to them when you ain't ready because you're going to give them some syllables that they ain't ready for. So you go ahead and process that with your crew and,
Yep,
and,
that
don't,
is
and
so
don't do the
true.
crew. They be like, we can ride up. They got them
Mhm,
people too. But,
mhm.
finding that balance of being able to take in what people are given and not allowing it to affect you. I like to say, they say, take the meat, spit out the bones.
I
I
was you in my head. You in my head, sis.
I
Yep.
actually say take the meat and hold on to the bone. You know why?
Mm,
Because sometimes that bone, though it didn't sit right with me then, it still may have some use later. It still may help me
mm.
later. You put a good bone in some soup. I don't eat soup, but I'm told you put the bone in there, sometimes it'll bring out some flavors for you. So knowing what to use, when to use it, how to use it is all I'm saying to do, depending on what the people are saying to you.
It I love it because you're right. I mean, I like that kind of perspective of holding on to the bone because oftentimes you hear chew on the meat, throw out the bone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes a lot of self awareness
Yes.
to do that. And sometimes we're not very self aware. It takes a level of insight within your own understanding of your own responses and reactions to certain things that may be said and things like that. But I believe that in all things, good or bad, with people what they say and don't say, there's a lesson to be learned. I always call life being you in real time school because every day you're learning something. Every time somebody says something that don't sit right with you, like, what am I supposed to learn in this moment? Because I'm having a response, a reaction. Or if something doesn't go your way, what am I supposed to learn in this moment? Or something keeps happening.
Yes.
what lesson am I not getting? Because this keeps coming
Yes.
back. What do I need to learn?
Right.
So I think taking the stance of this being a teachable moment will not only help you along to progress of how to handle, other comments or interactions, because guess what? They're not going to be the last person that may have similar comments to you, or you may have similar experiences. So you learning, which is holding on to that bone to learn
Yes. Yes.
how you can use that later. So,
Yes, I love it. I'm always saying like life is a learning experience. Whether you teaching, whether you learning, every instance is something to learn, whether we like to learn it or not. It might be a grand lesson, it might be a small lesson, it may be a lesson for down the line, but it's
mhm,
always a learning moment. So really learn how to do that.
absolutely,
Thank
absolutely.
you, Jeannie. And guess what? Even on my bad day, she still look good. Why? Because she showed up. Come on
Yeah,
now.
come on.
That's hard too, showing up. You look good too, Jeannie. Huh? We all look good. You look good, Dr. Rita.
Thank you, sis.
We got to encourage ourselves because sometimes, and it's funny because, like, so I do a new style every month. That's my thing. I said that
Mhm,
I can control my hair a little bit.
mhm,
The flyaways do what they want to do. But for
mhm,
the most part, I feel like that's something that I can control. So, like, that's my thing. My self
mhm,
care. Every month, she got a new do, figuring out and things of that sort. But it's sometimes I be like, did that turn out right? And I'll
mhm,
go somewhere and they be like, oh, that looks nice.
mhm,
I say, thank you, God, because God knew it was on my heart that I was a little unsure,
mhm,
but I still
mhm.
walk with confidence. That's another thing too. Still holding your head up. It's gonna work out. I don't know how, I don't know when, but you gotta have that confidence too in whatever it is that you're trying to do.
You have confidence, you make anything look good. It don't
Absolutely.
matter what you got on, how you wear your head, that confidence
Yes.
brings it together, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I tried lashes a couple times. It'd be just my luck one day that lash be on and lash be off. I'm still gonna walk in there like, and what?
It's the new I'm starting a new trend, right?
Yes. Yeah, if you're my friend and you see me like that, tap me on my shoulder.
Right?
I
Sis.
would be confident, but if I don't know what's there, tap me on my shoulder. Be a friend. Be a friend.
Oh,
Um,
that's funny.
Dr. Rita, we went right into this. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, well, I am a doctor of marriage and family therapy.
Woo-woo.
I'm a licensed social worker. I currently kind of opened an academy called the Manifesting Her Academy, where I work with women who are struggling with feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, and a lack of sense of self. And so I help them to make shift happen
Mhm,
in life and in business, because I believe that once we shift our way of thinking and behaving, we can
mhm,
change how we see ourselves, to build confidence, to redefine our identity, to
mhm,
gain clarity and overcome them obstacles that we once thought was so hard, because shift happened. And
mhm,
so when I teach these scalable ways of doing that, then they'll be able to create the life they desire to live, whether it's in love, life, and success. Yeah, I help them make shift happen. And
yeah,
so I just started doing that. So I offer online courses to women, doing to help them along that journey of really self-discovery and overcoming things that they are struggling with. Um, I also just wrote a book. I'm excited about that. So
woo-woo,
I'm an author,
congratulations.
called Manifesting Her 7 Strategies to Rebuild Your Identity After Trauma, Build Big Confidence, and Cultivate Self Love. And so I provide 7 strategies really to help you really own your dopeness. How we're going to work through this traumatic experiences. We've all had some difficult life experiences and we
Mhm,
find ourselves stuck. So I just share what I've done in my life when I've
mhm,
experienced trauma, how I've gotten to a place of depression and fear to
mhm.
being fierce
Yes,
and owning who I am and who I'm not. And so and then also for free time, I love hanging out with my nephews, calling my nephew sons.
yes,
Yes, I love them to pieces. And
mhm,
outside of that, girl, like traveling, hanging out on any Caribbean island in the beach, on
yes,
the sand and clear blue waters. that's
yes.
that's me in a nutshell.
Yes, I love it. I'm gonna use that. Shift happens. They be like, "You cussing?" No, I said shift.
Listen, I say, I don't care what you heard, what you thought you heard. It's
Yeah,
our relative. We're gonna
yeah.
make that happen.
And I like it because stuff does happen if
Yep,
you want to use it that way.
yep,
But because it happened, I have to shift. I might have to
exactly.
shift. Like the course that I was on, I might have to change it up a little bit. Or I wanted to go petty, I wanted to go off, but I got to shift and still be like, "How can I help you?"
Exactly.
I like
Exactly.
I
Yep.
like it, and it's not easy all the time.
It's not.
Sometimes people take it there. We talked about this a little bit last week. Sometimes people take it there. Um, But you pull yourself together because they may be having that bad day. And again, you might be having a bad day. Sometimes we hear it wrong.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
we just took it in wrong. Sometimes
Mhm.
we do.
We do.
Accountability.
Mhm. Yeah, we do. We're human. He's called the human experience.
Yes, yes.
And I think the blessing is where we are in that process, we're able to gather ourselves quicker than somebody else who is not as more self-aware into their own behaviors and patterns. And so,
Very
yeah.
nice. So you also do a transparency talk. How did that come about and what is it?
Woo child. That was definitely the Lord. Um, so just a little bit about me. I'm a cancer survivor and I was in an abusive marriage, emotionally abusive marriage. And in that marriage, I contracted HIV. And so you can imagine depression, all types of
Mhm,
things happening. And
mhm,
as I chased healing through therapy and all that jazz, I realized, wow, Lord, I had to go through all of this to help other women. So in
mhm.
order to help women, I had to be transparent. I'm like, God, I ain't ready for that. I don't ever know my business. This was
Yes,
what I was
yes.
thinking about. And what I realized, it's not about you. So when I began to tell bits of the story,
Mm,
women were like, oh my gosh, it would just open up, I guess, a realm of safety for them. And they would just divulge things that I'm like, whoa.
mhm, mhm,
But they never had, I guess, that space or
mm,
never experienced or thought they would experience someone who may have journeyed down the same path that they're on or
mhm,
gotten through from all of that tragedy to appearing like, "Oh my gosh, you?" I get that all the time. "You?" I'm like,
mhm.
"Yeah, I'm not exempt from life
Yes,
experiences."
yes.
And so transparency talk was birthed out of all of that, and I prayed about that thing. I was avoiding it
Mm,
like the plague. You hear me? I was like, "No, Lord, no, God, no," but it kept coming back. Like,
mhm,
I would hear words like in a sermon, "You gotta be transparent and authentic." I'm like, "Oh, God, you're talking to me through the TV. Oh, Lord, you're talking to me." And, wherever you are, I've
yeah,
heard that word. And so I said, "All right,
mhm,
Lord, I'm gonna, start this kind of start of a social media conversation. Actually, start off as a blog
mhm,
called Transparency Talk. I'll just type about myself and just share. And then God said, "No, I need you to go like public." I'm like, "I am blog. No, I need you to do this in
mhm,
person, if you will."
mhm,
So I stepped out on faith. January 1st, 2020, I launched Transparency Talk with Tashina. And so I have guests who this is what blows my mind. What you run from oftentimes, the blessing that God's have on your life. You're so worried about you and what
mhm,
you think people are gonna say, and you missing the point of the blessing. So once
mhm,
did was obedient, just the lives that were blessed by having guests on and sharing their story, whether it was how to build a business or the fear of building a business, or
mhm,
maybe it was some type of
mhm.
sexual abuse, or maybe it was incarceration, or maybe it was you had topics on the prostitute. It didn't matter what it was.
Yes.
The people who would chime in and share and say, "Thank you, I needed to hear that," or would inbox you afterwards and say, "Oh my gosh, I love blah blah blah," or listen, this is how God does works, or inbox you and say, "I want to invite you to speak at my conference."
Mm,
Now imagine had you sat on your call, your
mhm,
purpose that God gave you,
mhm,
you wouldn't be able to receive what God gives you. So Transparency Talk started as a ministry, honestly.
mm,
I said, "God, have your way. Whoever you want me." I mean, and He would lay on my heart people
mhm,
to ask. I'm like, "Are you sure?
mhm,
I ain't
mhm.
talked to them in so long."
Yes.
And that's how it birthed. It was a ministry.
I love it.
Um, yeah.
So, one, thank you for your transparency. Because even though that's your story and you have shared it, doesn't mean that you want to share it today. So, thank you. Um, and I love the part of you saying how the gifts that we have, sometimes we're like, is this really what I'm supposed to do? And then
Mhm.
this thing of marching forward, we're like really looking on the inside of us. Last March we did why not was the theme.
Mhm.
And one of the things was choose success, and then another one was fulfill your purpose. And in one of those sessions we talked about how that what you have to do is already inside of you. It's
Mhm.
really, are we comfortable enough to share that story? But then that first time that you shared it was like, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that. Or somebody breaks
Mhm.
down in tears of, I'm in that situation. How did you get out? How can I get out?
Mhm.
Or my family member is going through that. How can I support them? What worked for you? And things of that sort. And you open up a whole can of
Mhm.
support, not
Mhm.
worms, of support to really
Mhm.
help that person flourish in whatever it is that they're doing. So
Yeah.
it's so important. The simple things.
Mhm. Mhm.
The simple things.
Absolutely.
So we talking about being transparent. We talking about looking in that mirror, but why is it give me some more of the benefits of doing it, because sometimes we'll be like, I know I need to do that, or I know I should say something, but if I say something, are they going to receive it? Are they going to say like, who you think you are, sis? I
Mhm.
don't know you, you're not this. So can you share with us a little bit more of the challenge, not the challenge because you overcame it, but in the beginning, how it was that struggle piece? What was it that you think that really caused you to be like, do I really have to share it? Like,
Mhm.
because God can tell us to do stuff all the time, we don't listen all the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
But for us to go forth and listen, like that battle, that tug of war to get there, to be like, okay, I'm going to do this. What was
Mhm.
that? Can you share a little bit more of that?
I think for me, I was tired of hiding.
Mm,
I was tired of hiding behind opportunities or possibilities. I
mm,
was tired of hiding behind shame. I was just tired, girl. I was tired. I'm like, Lord, I'm tired. Like, I just want to, it's a saying out there that says, um, if share your secrets, they can no longer harm you.
mm.
Now, I'm not saying now, of course, I'm not saying people to go out and share their business secret, but it was almost like, so what they're saying is once you expose it yourself, then it can't harm you because you
That's
you
it.
you already, have gained some type of dominion over how you're emotionally
Yes,
responsive. And so,
yes.
again, that previous comment was just a statement that people have used, but I'm not encouraging you guys to share your secrets. No, no, no. But I think for me, just growing tired and growing more confident within myself and
Mm,
not defining myself based on my life experiences, that I found the courage and confidence to say, you know what, I need to graduate from public opinion, because people don't, if you don't like me because of that, then you weren't meant to be in my life. And so I think for me that was a big part of it, in embracing authenticity. I think transparency is really you just being authentic.
graduate from public opinion. That right there was good. Um, graduate from public opinion.
Some of us is still in elementary, some of us in high school. Some of
Mm,
us may be entering into our freshman year of, college, but we're all at different places
yes,
of fear, fear of judgment. Um,
yes.
and so, and I think we all experience it. This is not something no one has ever gone through. I think depending on what you do and what life brings your way, you may have a moment where you're like, oh gosh, I don't hear nobody mouth. I might be going to do this, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But we all, you know, have that experience of.
And that's a big part too. You said of like sharing and not saying we're telling you to share, friends. I want you to use discernment though, because sometimes we get into a
Mhm,
situation, we get into a conversation with someone, and it's on your heart to share with them a little piece of your story. I mean, you don't got to give them A through Z, but you gave them like C and like
mhm,
the why of how you was almost out of it, or the Z
mhm,
of how you did get out of it.
mhm,
And then they share like something that they're going through and it's similar. I've had that happen so many times. They're like discouraging things, and they're not quite sharing at that moment because they already overwhelmed by it. But then I share a story like, I'm going through this and da, 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 da,
mhm,
da. And I share how God brought me out, and guess what? He can bring you out to let's pray, because
mhm,
you can make it through too.
mhm,
So using discernment and knowing when you can share, when to hold them, when to let them go, when to hold
mhm.
them, when to let them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Because sometimes you do want to share. I mean, it is okay to share, but we also learn who we can share and who we can't share with. Because some people run and tell
They run told that.
they'll run and tell the masses.
I agree with you. I think we all should use a level of discernment before we begin to expose or allow ourselves to be emotionally vulnerable, because everybody um, that you may share with may not have the capacity to hold that space for you. Right. And
Mm,
then you don't want to subject yourself to more emotional harm. So it is important to have discernment of who and what you share to. I think because this is my calling and this is what I've been purposed to do, I'm all right with, sharing, because but let me be honest, transparent. I wasn't always comfortable. I would tell bits and pieces and kind of
yeah,
test the waters. I'm like, all right, Lord, I did. But I think at some point I became convicted for me.
yes.
How are you talking about women's empowerment, about how to help them, and you're not being open about your experiences? You can't just tell half the story. So
Mm.
I think that's when I knew this was God. I'm like, all right, Lord, all right. But that's it's not for everybody. So I completely agree with you about using discernment because you don't want to just divulge everything to a person that can't hold that space for you in a way that is safe, emotionally safe,
Mm-hmm.
especially with people who are emotionally unavailable because you may find yourself getting further hurt because they're unable to hold that space for you in a way that um is comforting for you in that moment. So yes, discernment, absolutely.
I like that. You said also one of my favorite words recently, capacity. Um, that has been my word. I was like, I was like, do I have the capacity for that today?
Mhm.
Because you see a lot of stuff on Facebook. Sometimes I scroll past because I don't have the capacity to deal with it. I'm already overwhelmed with some other things, or it's not a pot that I want to kind of dwell into. So I was like, yep,
Mhm.
didn't see that, or did see that, and kind of let it go. Because people,
Mhm.
social media has become that place where we could share everything. And sometimes I can't do it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm trying to figure out my A to the Z. EFG, and I can't do that at that moment. So really identifying what you have the capacity to do too. So looking in the mirror, like, is this stressing me out? Wait, I'm getting some more gray hairs. I got to go dye it again, or whatever it is you do.
Mhm.
But knowing what is overwhelming to you, what it is you need to take off that plate, knowing what it is that you can continue to carry. And again, it's some days where it's like, I don't have the capacity to deal with that. I'm gonna take a me day. I'm gonna take some self
Mhm.
care, and knowing when you need that, because if you keep going and you didn't really have the capacity for it, you might explode, and now they ready for that.
Yeah, right. I call it self-preservation. It's self-care, and I
Mhm.
think we all. I think that's why in the like earlier on in our conversation, I was saying that I think it's important for people to check in with themselves because you're right. We can move and push and do, and we neglect our own well-being. And so when we are pushing and we're neglecting our own wellness, it impacts other areas of our lives, our emotional health, our mental health, our
Yeah,
physical health, our
yeah,
spiritual health, all of that. And so
yeah.
yes, taking time out to take care of you, that means eat lunch, have your dinner, take a
Mm,
break. That
mm.
means go to the doctors, make sure your eyesight is great. I had to do that. Make sure
Yeah,
your teeth is good.
yes,
Self-care isn't just about getting your nails done, no, it means holistically everything,
yes.
making sure you're good.
And that's the part right there. I think sometimes we get that pulls on my heartstrings a little bit of how we sometimes get caught up on the outer pieces and we're not taking care of the inner pieces. Like Temptations wrote that song, Beauty's Only Skin Deep. But we're making sure that the outer is so great, but what's going on with the inside? Are we
Mhm,
eating what we should be eating? Something as simple as eating lunch,
mhm,
eating dinner,
mhm,
having a snack. Because I'm like, and I have to catch myself because sometimes, depending on the day, if I got too busy, I'd be like, well, Lord, I thank you for this unintentional fast. I don't even know what I was seeking you for, but God, if you could work it out for me, I'm going to now eat this in Jesus' name. Because you get so tied up in things for no reason. You just don't take the moment for it. And you have to take those moments. That is self care, making sure you're eating, making sure your body is getting nutrients, taking a moment to stand up and walk away, taking a moment to scream out loud, dance in the rain, whatever it is to cause you to have that pause in the day. Because if you keep going straight, whew, you about to run out after a while. We're not the Energizer
what's gonna
Bunny.
happen is your body gonna shut down for you. Your body
Yeah,
gonna tell you you're gonna get sick.
yes,
All types of things start going wrong with your body. Stress levels cause you, illness, right?
yes.
And so, yeah, if we don't take time for that, your body will do it for you.
And people don't think it's real. I was talking to a coworker and I was telling her, like, so when you get home, don't open up the computer. Now I open up my
Mhm,
computer because I'm always doing different things. But the work has to end for the 9 to 5 at a certain period. Because if not, you'd be like, I don't want to do this no more. I'm doing it when
mhm,
I wake up. I'm doing it when I sleep. It is my lunch. It is my dinner. We have a problem.
mhm.
So like explaining to her, like, if you don't take that moment to take the pause gonna cause you to take a pause. And somebody was like, she's gonna be all right. She's tired. She's overwhelmed. She's expressed these vocally. Something
I
is
know.
going to happen if she don't get herself together. Now you saying you good, you go ahead, sunshine, but that doesn't mean that's her testimony. That's not her
Mhm.
story if she's verbally saying it. And sometimes we also don't listen to the words that are coming out of the people's mouths. Chris Tucker said it best. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Because we're not listening. And sometimes we listen to speak and I listen to hear. And sometimes people are throwing out lifelines of saying, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And when they're saying
Mm-hmm.
those words, hey, let's check in.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes somebody posted, I didn't send a message, hey, how you doing today?
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure you're doing good. Just want to let you know you're doing a great job. You're a great mom.
Mm-hmm.
Any post with kids, sometimes I just send a message, you're a great mom. Because they need to hear that. Sometimes you get overwhelmed. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard out
I
here.
mean, that's teetering on burnout. I think many of us, especially with having to deal with the whole pandemic, we had to do a lot of things we weren't used to doing.
Hmm.
And we were around our kids and family longer than we've ever have been because school was at home.
Yes,
We had
yes,
to work from home, so everybody together, and so there's a lot of things that can contribute to burnout. Even the nurses and doctors who had to still work and take care of folks.
right.
And I think with I know there's lots of training out there in behavioral health around burnout, but I think just in general, we need to be more in tune to ourselves and recognize when we're tired. So rest.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you can do today, and,
Yes.
and that should be enough. And I think we get caught up in this whole perfectionism is the thing, the spirit of perfectionism, and try to make things perfect. Listen, there's
Mhm.
there's no such thing as perfectionism. So stop it.
Please,
Nothing is perfect. What
please.
you do is enough. Do
Yes,
what you can do for today and
yes.
be fine with that and continue tomorrow. If it don't get done tomorrow, just keep at it until it gets
That's
done.
it. That's
Don't
it.
stress yourself out, to get all this done. It's a lot. And so I think we
Yeah.
have to be mindful of even our own behaviors of that's contributing to that kind of that hamster wheel, if you will,
Yeah.
constantly spinning.
Yes, yes. And that's so true. Cause like it'd be a day I'm embracing myself because we're going back to the office and that is a whole task in itself. Um, but there's some days I come home and I'm like, you know what? I want to lay down. I'm tired. I'm like, you in the bed? I'm tired. When I want to listen to my body, I learned that when I got sick the last time. If she tired, she gonna sit down. Because
Mhm,
if not, it's gonna sit her down. I don't want that to
mhm,
happen.
mhm,
Jennifer don't want that to happen. I mean, you may want that to happen, but that's still not gonna serve you. I can't help you. I want to live a little longer. So if I'm having a moment, let me take it.
mhm.
And I feel bad sometimes. My sister reach out, she's like, "What you doing?" I just got home. I'm tired. It's a
Yeah.
busy day because I do a lot of different things, and I definitely engage in self care when I need it, and I know when I do need it. I know when I can sacrifice and say, "No, come on, let's go." But then sometimes you're like, "No, I need to sit down."
You
And with
know
these
what?
gas prices,
I know.
I need to
Oh
stay
my
in the house
goodness.
alone.
I was like, "Ooh." But you made me think of something. I think, unfortunately, and I think we lack awareness into this, that we don't prioritize ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we matter and we are important. We are a priority too. So if
Mm-hmm.
we're not well, other things won't get done.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make ourselves a priority,
Yeah.
and taking care of ourselves. And so, I know I'm guilty of that too. Moving, doing, and I
Yeah.
get a headache. I'm like, see,
Yeah.
now I got that headache.
Mm-hmm.
What I should have did was eat like I was supposed to. But
Yeah.
we have to check ourselves sometimes. But we have to
Absolutely.
be intentional with
Mm-hmm.
our own self preservation. If not, it will take life from you.
It can. It
Hmm.
can.
Hmm.
And I again, we always say to think of on that job. If you got sick, if you God forbid passed away, hope you got life insurance. We're bringing that back, friends. But if something happened to you, they're gonna find somebody else to get it done. So
Hmm.
take your time. The PTO, prepare the others. Got some days coming up myself. What? Prepare the others. You're not gonna be there.
And that's why, back to the topic about looking in the mirror, that's something we have to look at too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I important? What is my worth? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't even recognize we're worthy of that self care. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're worthy of investing in ourselves. That's the best thing you can do, is invest in yourself. And investing in yourself doesn't necessarily mean money. It
Mm-hmm.
could be taking care of yourself and your well being. So
Yes.
looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, what can I do for me today?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that can be a goal, a kind of a goal every day. What am I going to do for me today? What
Yes.
can serve me today?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's not being selfish. It's not. No, it's about prioritizing self, but also recognizing that you just as important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think we should get into the habit of that.
Yes.
Um.
Absolutely. And then that's big because like sometimes people that's because I thought of my god sister Jeannie. One time I was talking about something, I was like, yeah, because she could cook. Sis could cook. Uh and we was talking about something and she's like, no, I'm not gonna cook. I'm gonna sit there and enjoy myself. That's self-care because though you are gifted in the area, doesn't mean you gotta do it all the time. If
Mhm,
you teach them, no, this is how you do it, sis. This is how you do it,
mhm,
bro. And you help them through the process. But You don't have to do it all the time. And that's a big part
Mhm,
too of passing the baton. Who else could do it? It
mhm.
doesn't have to be you all the time. I know it's not going to be how you wanted it to be, but I promise it's not going to be that much you got to clean up if you just let them do it. And you might be surprised. They might knock it out the park.
I
You
think to
know?
add to that, you made me think of is boundaries. Boundaries is also a form of self-care.
Yes.
You know, and I know we've all heard this saying that no is a complete sentence because it is. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think putting boundaries in place also contributes to our becoming, growing in a healthy um, state of being. But the
Yes.
challenges, which goes back into this whole theme of looking in the mirror, is that we undermine our own boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we get stressed all over again, or frustrated, or unhappy. The insecurities start competing with ourselves in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a big part of, looking in the mirror is also recognizing your own patterns, creating boundaries. So three things: self-investment, self-compassion,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, and self-reflection. I think those three things goes hand in hand. I think that would help you to march forth and
Yes.
being
Yes.
able to make change happen, whether it's in life, business,
Mm-hmm.
even with family,
Yes. Yes.
self-investment, reflect, and give
Mm-hmm.
yourself grace.
Yes, give me self grace. And I like that because the thing of March 4th and like looking in the mirror is really, as you said, taking that pause to really evaluate all aspects of life, right? Is this relationship serving me?
Mhm,
Whatever kind of relationship it is,
mhm.
friends, sometimes family, you got
Work.
to take a pause from
Mhm,
work, co-workers rather, um, and just different things that we get ourselves into, right? And then is this job serving me? I shared, I don't know when, but how like your job does an evaluation every year. You need to do evaluation too. Are you still doing what it is I need you to do?
mm,
Are you helping me to blossom and be the best version of me? If not, what can you do to help me do that? Because we
mhm,
should be evolving and growing too. Because if you get in a studying job after I was like, yeah, I'm just going on to do what I gotta do. Something exciting need to
mhm.
happen at least once a week. At
But you
least
know
once
what?
a week.
I felt myself in a situation like that at a job for 11 years, afraid to leave because I was comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I was predictable. I knew what was happening every day in and out, and it was a stable check.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stayed but I was good. But while staying, I grew more uncomfortable. I
Mm-hmm.
became bored. It
Yeah.
wasn't growing me. And I think sometimes some of us get complacent and we stay there because some of us don't believe that maybe I'll get this same pay elsewhere because being there for so long, you probably have a nice salary.
Right. Right.
And some people, don't want to give that up. I know, but for me, and this is all being kind of authentic with who I am. I'm like, you know what? There are some things I want to do differently, and so I took a step out on faith and I left. I was scared because it was 11 years, all I knew.
Yes. Yes.
But when I did that, girl, I was like, what was I waiting for all this time?
Yes.
And so, I mean, everybody's different.
Yes.
Everybody has their own subjective experiences. And so, what works for me may not work for you. But
Yes.
you need to do what works for
Yes.
you and what you're comfortable with.
And that's the key. Do what works for you. If you feel like where you are is not right, I also say like shoes. That shoe, if it's too small, you gotta do something about it. What you gotta do, buy another shoe,
Mhm,
bigger size. You
mhm,
gotta you have to do what you gotta do to make sure it's comfortable again. And that
mhm,
you now have some more space. So you got some space that you can grow to.
mhm,
Because your foot is probably not gonna shrink. Um, but you have to step out, do whatever it
right.
is that's on you to do. And that's what this month is about too. Like what is it that you're trying to do? Really sit down, take that pause, look in the mirror. What are the different talents that you have? Because as you say, like for 11 years on that job, but that's not all you know how to do. You know
Mhm,
how to do
mhm,
so many other things. And sometimes when you leave that job, you go to another position and you build on the skills that you have. And then you continue to build until it's time for you to leave that or not leave that. Who knows what happens at the end of that road if the road does end. But the thing is, at least trying, stepping out and trying.
I tell people all the time, listen, while you on that job, them skills you got is transferable.
Yes.
It could be so transferable that it will give you a higher paying job, or you can create your own,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And I think, sometimes, and we're not taught that. So it's really a step of faith because we don't know what it would look like if I did that.
Yeah.
But I would say, try and, and learn along the way. And I think too, people, we all, including myself, need to change how we see failure.
Mm.
Um, because it's not for me, it's not really it's a win-win for me. Okay, this
Mhm.
didn't work out, but I've learned something. I know what to do
Mhm.
different.
That's
Maybe
it.
it wasn't my, and that's just my how I choose to spin it.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't my time, but now I know what to do, what to expect, how to
Mm-hmm.
prepare.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try again,
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes we give up because, oh, the feeling of failure doesn't always feel good. It doesn't. And
Yes.
we want to win.
Yes.
But
Yes.
if we flip it and like it's still a win-win.
It's still a
You
win-win.
still dope. You
Yes.
still in your time. You're
Yes.
gonna learn from this experience and try again or do something different.
Or do something different. That's so important. I was entered in something someone had put my name for, or they wanted to like bring me on to be able to support with it. And I was just like, I'm just honored that the opportunity was even out there. Whether
Mhm.
it worked out or didn't work out. It didn't work out yet. However, I was just honored that the opportunity had presented. Why? Because it showed me where I could go. It
Mm.
showed me the potential that I had. Like, Jennifer, don't sit on yourself no more.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
packing, sis. You got this thing going on. You done looked in the mirror and evaluated some things. I still look in the mirror because she still ain't got it together. She working daily, for daily thing. But I had to like you have some things that you can really give to somebody else to show to somebody else to let them know that hey, you can make it. You can do this.
You said something that made me think of something I was asked. I had a mindset coach some time ago, and this kind of question stuck with me.
Mhm.
Um, Oftentimes when people come and ask us to do things, that imposter syndrome pops up and like,
Mhm.
oh, but if they saw something in you, which is why they came to ask you because they knew that you can do it. But what happens is back to those conversations is that question of what messages are you holding on to justify those insecurities? Because oftentimes you don't have any facts to support it.
Mm.
So if we don't have facts to support these learned messages or experiences,
Yes.
then we have to be accountable to make that change, that shift happen
Mhm.
for ourselves. So I've learned when I start having those conversations that are disempowering or they are grounded in fear and anxiety. Girl, what's the facts?
Yes.
What am I really telling myself? Is that true? Or I'm just it comes
Mm.
from a place of fear. So when I
Yes.
stand on the facts that no, they approach me or, just as an example, because I'm capable. I've done this for how long? I have a
Mhm.
track record. So they use that to say, hey, we want you. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna stand in that and not think different because the facts are
The
you
fact
can do it because you've done it.
because you've done it, and that's the thing too. So like, speaking of that same, counselor, I had wrote up a plan of what sessions and things would look like. It would be coaching things of that sort. I had a whole 8-week plan for individual and for groups and things of that sort. I was like, yeah, this gonna be nice, right? So then somebody reached out to me maybe a month ago. Maybe less than a month, but it was like, "Hey, are you offering any therapy services right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, not right now." Because in my head, I'm like, my life is like already kind of busy. How can I do that? And I gave some resources, but they responded back and said, "I'm really sad to hear that you're not doing." I was like, because then I'm like, Jennifer, it's something you can do. Like, work this out. And I was like, well, how would I do it? And I went back to, you already wrote it all out, sunshine. You already
Mhm.
have it together. And what happens is from those activities, it causes you to go into your thinking tank to get the things together that you need to pull out the tools that you need. And then you're ready to go. And then, oh, I don't need it right now. Don't let them get dusty. Come on, how can I use this? Because it's something
Mhm.
that's still a value that can help somebody else be the best version of them. So I'm like, all right,
Absolutely.
let me get this together.
Absolutely.
Let me dust it off. Let me dust it off and get this
Absolutely.
right. And now we're ready to like pull that into the scene too. And that's the thing too. Like, it's some things that you've worked on and you put it to the side because it didn't work at that moment. But guess what? What is
It may work
now
a
is
year or
your
two
time?
later. Mhm. Mhm.
Now it's your time.
Mhm.
And it's some months later, from when I did it and things of that sort. But you have it. And then you're like, okay. That's like chosen counselors. Um, I was encouraged and supported to start a nonprofit. And I was like, well, what is it going to be called? I don't know what it's going to be called. Ironically, they had like the little the letter stickers and things of that sort. I had like a little tray, and I had wrote chosen counselors. And I'm studying, talking like, what's it going to be called and things of that sort. I randomly sat down and looked at the tray. I said, I have the name
Oh Lord.
all along. And that's it. So that's why it's so important for us to write things down, to jot things down, because we forget one. But two, it helps us to one see it too. Because had I not sat down and saw it, had it been in a book somewhere, I gotta pick up the book to read it. But it was
Mhm.
right clear as day. Chosen
Mhm.
counselor. I said, All right,
You
I
can
guess
chat.
we're ready. So
All
again,
right.
whatever it is, the Bible said, write the vision, make it
Make
plain.
it plain.
And when you write that thing out of what it is that you're trying to do, it may not be this season, but the season is coming, sis. The season is coming, brother. You can do it, whatever it is. But what's stopping you?
Absolutely. You. You
Hmm.
stopping you.
You're right, because that imposter syndrome, we think that we can't do it,
Mhm.
because like even in me saying all this lovely jazz, I still gotta get out of my head to say, Jennifer, this is something that you enjoy doing. Why you can't make it work? Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, what you doing on this day, sis? You ain't doing nothing.
Mhm.
And I and again, looking in the mirror, it's definitely going deep because I already got April already done. The questions already did up and everything. The emails are already scheduled. So when I'm gonna say like I don't got time, sis, you ahead of the game. You got
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
You can make it
Mhm.
happen. And
Mhm.
you have to like encourage yourself
Mhm.
because sometimes you feel like, well, maybe I can't. But then once you start doing it, you be like, wait, I can do
That
this.
is
I
that
can
is
do this.
true.
But you gotta step out.
And I guess one thing about the whole look in the mirror, I think, for me, I've talked about this a lot on social media that I used to stutter.
Mm.
And it turned from stuttering to speaking fast. And don't get me excited, Jen, because you'll hear me talk a whole nother language. Like, girl, you still speaking English? That's just how fast I'll talk. But it was an insecurity where
Mm.
I would undermine my own intellect.
Mm.
I wouldn't ask questions. I would
Mm.
hide because I thought nobody's going to understand me. I'm not making sense. Is what again, the thinking. And look how it evolved. Now I'm asked to do podcasts, to speak in public. I'm like, wow, look how God used what we thought was useless or something that was, we couldn't, wasn't good into something beautiful.
Mm. I love it. Even in the Bible, Moses is well known. And he said, Lord, I'm not eloquent,
Mhm.
my speech is not that great. It was like, but
Mhm.
I chose you. So
Mhm.
that quality that you think is not that great is still amazing. It's going to help somebody else. And guess what? The other part of that is you will see somebody else that has that same problem. Or they'll randomly see you and be like, wait, if they could do it, I could do it too. Now, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna say the grace is the same because like you have to walk in that which you're called to
Yeah.
do. You
Mhm.
don't have to put on these hoops and airs and doing all these other things. Stay in your lane with everything that's authentic and true to you. Because then you can do that sleeping, prepared, unprepared, all that fun jazz.
Mhm.
But that quality that you think is like, maybe I can't. Do you really want me? No
Mhm.
longer doubt yourself, as you continue to practice. Before you know it, you're doing good.
Mhm.
I have the thing where I speak a little fast too sometimes. They're like, what you say? I was talking to somebody yesterday, they looked at each other like, say that again. Because I get excited too. And I have to
Mhm.
pace myself.
Mhm.
I'm working on it, friends, because I know sometimes I watch a clip and I'm like, Jennifer, slow down. But I
Girl,
get
at this
excited
time,
because
I'm
it's something
like,
that
if
I
you
enjoy doing.
look now, I'm like, just lean in. You understand? Just listen, Lord.
Yes.
Because I'm all right with me today. So it's like, it don't even bother me anymore.
Yes, yes. And because I do talk fast, it damn causes you where you have to really be paying attention. You
Mhm.
can't like be looking somewhere else and like, wait, what'd you say? Because so many what you say, you're like, are you listening to me? And then I gotta be dramatic just because. But that's it. But the hope is that again, you get out there and you share whatever it is on your heart. Cry loud, spare not, whatever that is on your heart to do. Because
Mhm.
most of us all want to do something that's going to help somebody else.
Mhm.
And who's going to frown upon that? Now, again, some people pridefully won't try to accept it. But because you're doing it from a good place, your heart is pure in what it is you're trying to do, I guarantee you that the doors will open. Stay humble in it. Stay
Mhm.
humble in it because it ain't
Mhm.
about you. It's really about you being a blessing to somebody else.
It made me think of a poem by Marianne Williamson. I think it's called "The Fear of Greatness," something like that. Maybe misquoting the name of the poem, but at the end it says, "When we give ourselves permission, when we begin to shine and glow, and pretty much walk on purpose, we give people the permission to do the same. So people are watching you. So when you begin to grow in your own confidence."
Mm,
And not be afraid of you and the power that's within you, the strength
mm,
that you possess. And when you
mm,
begin to step in that and embrace that, guess what happens? Trust me when I tell you, you will become transformed in your mind
mm.
and even in your heart because once whatever you thought you couldn't do, now you're doing.
Now you're
What
doing.
you once thought, wasn't possible has become
Mm-hmm.
possible. So just when you thought you couldn't make it, afford it, create it, believe in it,
Mm,
achieve it, whatever that it is,
whatever.
God makes it possible. But it starts within.
It does. And I always use analogy to it bread. If you go into the grocery store, it's a gazillion different brands of bread.
Mm,
But you go in there and you get the brand that you like. Somebody
mm,
else goes in and gets the brand that they like. So what if so many other people are doing it? You keep on doing what it is you're doing. It's a gazillion McDonald's in the city of Philadelphia. But it's
mhm,
that one McDonald's you could go to because that ice cream machine gonna be working. I'm using that as an example. Just go with me. But you're gonna get the same thing at the other McDonald's. They got the same fries, same burger, but it's something about this one that you go to, and that's the
mhm,
gift and talent that you have inside of you.
mhm,
Okay, whatever it is that you do, it's gonna be like, I know McDonald's is around the corner, but I gotta go down the street, around the corner, 5 blocks over, and then I'm gonna get what it is that I need, and people
mhm,
will come if
mhm,
you're being true, if you're being transparent, if you're being honest, and then being accountable to somebody.
mhm,
Because we put these things out there, we want to do these things, and then we're doing something else behind the scenes, and they're like, "Wait, is that still
mhm.
uh,
You gotta be authentic.
authentic?"
Show up as you. I mean,
Yeah,
it's so freeing when you can just be yourself. Be your
yes,
authentic self. You don't owe nobody an explanation. You're just free to do you
free to do
because
you.
you're okay with you.
Yes.
And so yeah.
And it takes time to get there. It's not
Mhm.
overnight. It's funny
Yep.
because like I talked this good game of beautiful and confidence and how
Yeah.
it took me a second to get there because
Yeah.
sometimes there were times I'd be like, just why are you beautiful? Are you pretty? And
Mhm.
I shared another time of how like the characteristics that make up your beauty. It really is
Mhm.
not really just the outer because somebody could be 26, 34, whatever they said the brick house was, and they mouth is just what? Hmm, or whatever it is, their personality, how they come off and being mean and things. So like those things, it took a while to get there. Like had a confidence in who you are, because somebody else can show
Mhm.
up, but that doesn't lessen you showing up either. You showed up
That's
and
a
you gonna do
that's a
something good too.
that's a whole nother topic. Really, it's like self perspective, how we see ourselves, and
Yeah.
sometimes we do have a distorted perspective of how we see our own beauty. And I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes, not sometimes, I do believe in the world that we live in, we're held to a standard that's not our own,
Mm-hmm.
and so we try to fit in. And then we fight because we don't fit into all of it because we
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have to fit in. We don't fit in. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where we struggle with. It's almost like
Yeah.
this cognitive dissonance we do within ourselves. We this
Yes.
emotional
Yes.
conflict we have with ourselves about what's beauty. No,
Mm-hmm.
beauty is what you make it.
Yeah.
That confidence starts to grow when you start saying, you know what, I love my lips, I love my nose, I love my big forehead. All these
Yeah.
things. You're right. It takes time. And I
Absolutely.
think affirming yourself, like I'm big on that. Like in my bathroom, I have cards around my mirror and I have affirmations. I am resource. I am light. I am love. Those things I have to constantly speak life into myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it to me, because the more you practice it and more you say it, you begin to believe it, and the
Absolutely.
change begins to happen. So,
Absolutely. And it goes back to also too how sometimes in church they say, you don't just pray when you're going through, you pray on the other days so they be stored up in things. Because there are some days that we're doing just fine. We know that we are that chick, we are that man, that king, that queen. But then there's those moments it's like, am I that king? Am I that queen? And because you got that stored up thing of, wait, I am the head and not the tail. I am
mhm,
amazing. I am the bomb. I got this. I can
mhm,
handle this. I was
mhm,
born for this day. Are they really ready for me? Is the question. And you bring back those pieces that you've poured into yourself to bring back that love to say, hey, yes, oh, come on, Lady Hannah, because her quote is don't give up. And that's the thing too. I gotta encourage myself to not give up because we was born for this day. I was watching her thing the other day. She inspires me with that. And
mhm,
consistently with it too, that don't give up. Because
mhm,
sometimes we do want to give up. Sometimes we do want to throw in that towel. But really getting in that moment of saying, I can do this.
mhm. That's true.
I'm
And yeah, and you made me think of I love Sarah Jake Roberts, and she always say this kind of statement: "I refuse to
Mhm.
lose." So let's
Yeah,
get some skin in the game. Why? Because I refuse to
yeah,
lose, and that just for me it pumps me up. Like, yes, right. No,
yeah.
I refuse to give up on myself.
Mm,
There's so much life to live. There's
mm,
so much opportunities, and I think we shortchange ourselves when we wear this kind of blinders, if you will,
mhm.
because of the stuff that we don't look at in the mirror, so to
Yes.
speak, you know?
I said we was wearing masks long before the mask came out.
Yeah, really, yeah.
And now we really have to go to the thing of, what is really going on. I saw this picture one time and it had the mask covering the face, but behind it, it was doubt, it was discouragement, it was
Mhm.
defeat, and all those different things. Because life can hit us hard. But guess what? It hits us, but we can keep on going with it. We pull on the supports, those that can help us, the accountability people, those that in our circle that can help pull us up, to help us look in the mirror and get it together.
Mhm.
We go seek the supports we need from that doctor. Just like
Mhm.
your car, some good on you go see that mechanic. You got to do these things.
Mhm.
Woo. You're not
Yeah.
alone, is all I'm saying.
Mhm.
There's a
Mhm.
gazillion things you want to do, but even in your story, what you shared, you didn't do it alone. Somebody was there to support and help you. And we have to be able
Absolutely.
to reach out to get that help when we do need it
And allow help to help.
and allow help to help.
Mhm.
Mm. Allow help to help. Sit there for another second.
Mhm.
You don't have to do it alone, friends. Whatever it
Mhm.
is that you're trying to do, there's somebody else that has walked this road that can encourage you. Allow help to help. Mm. Whew. Take a breath on that one. Because that's a big one. Because sometimes we
Mhm.
feel like we can do it, but we don't have to carry it all alone.
Mhm. Yep.
I'm the queen of YouTube. YouTube will teach you a whole bunch of different things. Google my friend too. If it's something I don't know, let me Google it. I have a friend gave me a timer plug. I think that's what it is, where to turn on when you want it to turn on at a certain time, and then to go
Mm.
off at a certain time. And they gave me the box, the plug thing, but it didn't have any instructions. I never
Hmm.
used it before. I had to Google it. I had to get some help. I mean, I could have kept on figuring it out. I didn't know what I was doing. And even when I watched the video, one of the components to set it for the time that I needed to come on and go off was on another part of the video. I had to watch the whole video. And that's the part too,
Mm.
because we get a piece of what it is we think we need, and then there's something else
Mm.
that's coming that we need to know. The full instructions. Sometimes we just take what we need, the full instructions.
Mhm. That's
Because
true.
you try to make some pick any dish, spaghetti. Let's do spaghetti. You got to read the full instruction on how to get that spaghetti to combine it with that sauce to combine it with that meat. I can't just put them all together. No, you got to cook it. You got to cook the
Mhm.
meat. You want to season the meat too. Add the sauces or however you make your sauces, whatever vegetables and things. But that whole process makes that final result. And if you miss a step, skip a step, they might not want to eat your spaghetti.
You made me think of the whole concept of healing. We talk about looking in the mirror and what stops us from looking in the mirror. It's because sometimes, we are afraid of the healing journey because we have to expose some things. And so, healing is a tender journey. So we can't shortcut it like that spaghetti. You got to take the whole menu and follow the steps. And the same thing with healing, we can't shortcut that. Sometimes we can cause ourselves more harm. And so I always suggest to everybody, like if you're really ready
Mm-hmm.
to work on some things to unpack,
Yes. Yes.
acknowledge and unpack some stuff, seek
Yes.
help, therapy, whatever.
Yes.
You need that space to do that so that you can look yourself in that mirror and say, "I love me today.
Yes.
I'm okay with me today." Every day ain't gonna be perfect. You still have your moments, but for the most part, you'll grow to a place within yourself where I'm okay today. You
Yes.
know, and
Yes.
so your healing is a journey. It's a process. It's tender. It's not to be rushed.
Yes.
So when we're talking about that spaghetti meal, it's
Mhm.
it's pieces that go to that.
Yes.
Same thing with
Yes.
your healing. You have to embrace that. So I think that's also can help with marching forth, and but
Mhm.
it starts with looking in the mirror.
Yes. Yes. It's funny. So I'm a TikToker a little bit sometimes, and this is one video, and like dun, 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 and you snap, and every time you snap, it's a whole different situation going on, right? So some people are like dun, 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 dun. Wait, I did it. I didn't see something did. You got to do some things. One, you got to get on a plane and go to a different place, or you have to travel to that different place. So it's steps you have to do to be able to really be like, da, 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 and then it really be something different going on. You have to do something, sis.
Mhm,
You got to
mhm,
do something, brother. You know.
mhm, mhm,
But we can do it. Why? Because
mhm.
somebody else has done it and they have prepared the way. But we have to look at the full instructions. I'm going home with. I'm taking that to me this rest of the week. What's the full instructions? Because you could be told to go out and encourage somebody. Well, what else? What you supposed to be encouraging them about? Get your full instructions on what it is you're supposed to be doing. Because sometimes we go out and we say, okay, I got this together. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, but
Mhm,
we don't really have all of the Y and the Z. We just know the X
mhm,
that we want to do something. You
Mhm.
have to
Mhm.
sit down and get your plan of action together too. Looking in the mirror,
Mhm.
like, how am I going to do this? Am
Mhm.
I equipped to really have everything that I need? Looking in that mirror, wait, so I could do this, this, and this, but who can I get to help me? So sometimes it's pulling in some people to also help you in that journey, help you on that
Mhm.
mission that you have to do.
Yeah. That makes you think of those 3 points, the self-reflection, self-investment, and self-compassion, and part of that self-investment is getting a village together,
Mm,
getting, a religious support. It could be a consist of a therapist, could consist of friends or whomever in that intimate circle that you trust to be able to be vulnerable in front of to help you to grow forward.
mm,
And that's still a form of investment within yourself. And that self-compassion means it's not always gonna be easy. So give yourself grace, be kind to yourself. And even in the words you say to yourself, why?
yes,
Because your heart is listening
yes.
to the words that you say,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Because if
And
you don't
again,
listen to yourself, ugh,
in the introspection, this I'm always in constant reflection. I write and write. I'm like, all right, Lord, what's happening? And I write. Or I would just sit in silence. I would just sit in silence and listen to myself and just listen to what's happening
yeah,
within my spirit. And that's just for me how I start off my kind of introspective process of self-reflection. I'll just sit in silence. But again, it looks different for you.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to create what works for you. So whoever that village is, you
Yes,
create that village.
yes,
And
yes,
investing also could be, I'm gonna take some classes to learn about stuff, or
yes,
I'm going to, if anything, right? Or
absolutely,
investment is I'm gonna go to the park just because I can.
yes,
Even if it's cold, I'm gonna bundle up, but I like to go by the tree. Whatever,
yes,
we
yes.
have to be able to do things that serves us and can help us to grow forward.
That's it. Growing up, I know they used to always say like "command your day," which was essentially
Mm,
saying prayer, so that whatever did come, you can hand out and things of that sort. And then with some of you mothers and brothers get up a little earlier than I do, but the thing is, at least make sure you did acknowledge the higher power that you believe in. I believe in Jesus. I say, Jesus, help me. These masks are a blessing because they cover stuff, but you still got to deal with some stuff. And the mask, you got to come off sometimes. You got to really deal with whatever is going on. We can't hide behind the mask all the time.
mhm,
So, like, God,
mhm,
help me to say the words you want me to say.
mhm,
Help me to keep my feelings and things and emotions. Because if I'm having a rough day or something didn't work out, somebody cut me off, and then I get to work, and then they want you to have X, Y, and Z, and you don't have X, Y, and Z all together, you get a little flustered and things. But because I commanded my day, I spoke life into my day. I spoke life into myself. I encouraged myself. Whatever comes today, it ain't nothing that me and you can't handle, Jesus. Come on with
mhm,
it.
mhm.
If
That
I
is true.
do that,
I
it
agree.
helps me to be able to get through. So it's really taking that pause in the morning to like do your woosah, do your yoga, do your meditation, whatever it is that you do that works out for you. It could be somebody that goes running. I ain't there yet to wake up in the morning and do that, but before the end of the night, she got her thing done where she did a walk
Mhm,
or something. Okay,
mhm,
but whatever it is that works for you to help you to get yourself going, get yourself on, where you're
mhm.
like, I'm ready for this. I can handle this.
Mhm.
Mm,
And, I always use that figurative statement about the mask, and I tell people, again, about looking at yourself. We talk about the metaphor of the mirror, that sometimes we got cracked mirrors,
mm,
and we gotta look at them cracks, couple
mm,
cracks, or shattered glass. And
mm,
we get and I think and I always tell people, "That's okay because mosaics are beautiful."
mhm.
They're broken pieces of glasses that are put together in
Yes,
different places that becomes a beautiful work of art. So even
yes,
in your brokenness, even in the
mm,
place of pain, when you grow through that, you
mm,
become a beautiful work of art. So
mm.
your mirror that was shattered becomes your mosaic.
Yes. Friends, we are a beautiful work of art.
Mhm.
Beautiful work of art. Because guess
Mhm.
what? Shift happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes we gotta shift. I'm keeping that
Come on
shift.
now.
You gotta shift. Read the full instructions and shift as needed. But also take that moment. Get accountability with whoever it is that's going to help you to be able to move forward. Because again, I could talk to Tom Blue in the face about this. You could talk
Mhm.
to yourself too. You blue in the face with Dr. Rita could talk, but it's not until we really get out and do whatever it is. Again,
Mhm.
we talk a good game. My parents talked about too how in January we had all these resolutions, and now we in March. How many of y'all are really working on that resolution?
That's that commitment, the discipline.
But we can
And,
do it.
yeah, we can do it.
Mm.
Mhm.
What's something you want us to walk away with?
I think in the world that we live in, I think what stands out for me the most that I try to practice is really grace. We're our own worst critic, and I think we can be so hard on ourselves. So when in our attempt of changing or wanting to change, we have to silence those conversations or change the conversations you're having about yourself and be kind in that process. because we can say some harsh things to ourselves.
Mhm.
And so I really believe, I think grace, give yourself grace so that you can make that shift happen for yourself too. Right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Friends, we got our work cut out for us. And we start early because, it's March. That means that, hey, I said I wanted to do something in January. I didn't work it out. It's now March. It's still time. But guess what? Every day is a new day to try.
Hmm.
Yesterday, oh,
Absolutely.
I did good. That
Absolutely.
ain't God, dang me. But tomorrow is coming. Tomorrow is coming. And hey, it's 9:19 right now. Hey, 9:20 is coming. Hey, not this 9:19. I had to get myself together. Ooh, I'ma cry it out. I'ma snot it out. I'ma air fight it out. Oop, it's 9:20. I got this.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because we have to have those moments. We're human.
Hmm.
But we got this,
Absolutely.
friends.
Absolutely.
So good. How can people follow you, Dr. Reader?
So I am on all social media platforms. Well, not all. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm a Dr. Tashina Reeder. They're all the
Mhm.
same handles. You can also visit me on my website, which is the manifestingherexperience.com. Yeah, those are the ways that you can reach me.
So be sure to check it out. Manifesting her experience, to learn different things. She's over there being transparent, and sometimes when we when we need somebody that's being transparent, it's like, wait, I can do it too. Punchinella, Punchinella. I'm telling my age for that Punchinella. Let me get myself together.
Mhm,
But being able to share, because I promise you'll get into some situations, you'll come across some people, and they need to hear that you've been through to say, hey,
mhm,
if you
mhm,
made it through, I can make it through too. Because that's what it's all about, encouraging,
mhm,
inspiring somebody else to do this
mhm.
thing called life. Oh, thank you so much. This was really good.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. Oh, this is really good. Y'all be sure to follow Dr. Tashina Reeder as shared. If you're my friend on Facebook, I did tag her so that she'll be able to get her information. But if not, again, just search Dr. Tashina Miller. Miller, Lord. You getting married? We're going to
I
get
was gonna
married.
say that's my husband coming or something. Last name Miller. No.
Lord, do it for a time. Do it. Um, Dr. Tashina Reeder. Be sure to follow her on all social media, and you can follow her and see what it is that she's doing and manifesting her and being transparent. Oh, help us, Jesus, to do that just a little bit more.
Yes.
But I thank you again so much, and may you have a
Mhm.
great evening.
You too. Thank you for having me again. Take
Yes,
care.
yes. Oh, that was awesome, friends. Tonight we had Dr. Tashina Reeder. Look in the mirror. Now, that is not always easy to do, friends, but we talked about the importance of it. Why? Because we believe in ourselves. I believe in you. And if you need to be encouraged, listen to this again because I believe in you. I know that you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to do. Don't forget our quote of the day. You have to look beyond the mirror to see yourself. Whew, you have to look beyond the mirror to see yourself. Oh, that was a good one. So, friends, look beyond that mirror. That mirror only shows you but so much. This screen right here is only showing me but so much. But if I go a little closer, put the little magnifying glass, I'm like, oh, what's that? You got a mole? Oh, you got a pimple? What's going on? And then I do the different things to get me, myself, and I together. A couple of announcements I just want to share. Congratulations, because we have some winners for our Snack Attack Care Package. Woo! We will be sending a Snack Attack Care Package to Carlow University, Morgan State University, Purchase College, Shippensburg University, Temple University, and Worcester Polytech Institute. I am so happy. Again, I always share. I remember when I went away to school, it was an experience. But to be able to get a package from my mom, you couldn't tell me nothing. I walked across that campus proud with that box. Only time I wanted to carry something heavy and big for them packages, but I was so happy. So we do that too, to just share and let a college student know that, hey, we love you, we believe in you. You keep on doing whatever your dream is. So that's something that we do. And I'm so grateful to our team as we will be preparing those packages to have those sent out. Again, our Women's History Month highlights person was Billie Holiday. Whoo, it's always nice to learn something new. And today we talked about Billie Holiday. You can catch that in the beginning if you go back to the beginning. Be sure to join us next week as we will have Darnell Johnson. I'm getting tongue-tied. Darnell Johnson for Pursue the Dream. So next Monday, join us back here at 8 p.m. as we will have Darnell Johnson to talk about pursuing a dream. Now, we talked about your still packing. We talked about looking in the mirror. Now it's time for us to really put some action to this, okay? We got to now move the suitcase to where it is we're going. Let the mirror go. Keep it on, whatever it is you want to do. But we have to know that we can pursue the dream. I do thank each and every one of you for tuning in. I do really, really, so truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. Be sure to look at the full instructions. Be sure to be kind to yourself. Be sure to take that pause to know what self care you need to be able to help you to continue to do that which you are called to do. Don't give up on you. Take a step today. I believe in you. I love you all for real. Until next time, see ya.
Friends, we thank you for joining Jen Cares this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Unable to watch us live? Be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also visit our website, chosencounselors.com. That's chosen with a Z, so that you can stay in the know and most of all, never miss a show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Most of all, be sure to tune in for our next episode next Monday at 8 p.m. right here as we specialize in bringing the community to you.